Welcome to the Under Construction Podcast with me, Martin Williams. Here we talk about how to build or rebuild your life one step at a time. Let's get and welcome to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S. Today's subject on the podcast is why don't affirmations work? Now, affirmations have been around for a long time, right? A lot of people have written articles, written books, done seminars on the power of words, and I couldn't agree more. I certainly have lived this truth. I know that words are powerful. I know that words matter. I do not just say whatever comes to mind, but I know that, our words take on flesh, right? That's, from the Bible. Our words take on life, and we are snared by the power of our tongue. So, it's important that you understand the power of your words. And even if you feel a certain way, don't vocalize it, right? Find another way to express it in a way that is not so, damaging to yourself, because at the end of the day, when you speak negatively, you damage yourself more than anyone else, right? You can't damage others, but you can also damage yourself, and you will damage yourself more than any other person. So I understand the power of words, and I also understand the power of affirmations. But why don't affirmations work for people the way that they should, right? I mean, if you affirm something day after day after day, shouldn't you see some kind of a change? I mean, it makes sense, right? But for a lot of people, that's not the case. For a lot of people, affirmations don't work. Why is that? Well, I had to realize that even though, you speak positive things, if you've been thinking negatively a long time, right, you basically have to almost counteract or counterbalance all of that negative thinking. So let me explain. I started reading this book from Emile Coué. I think it's pronounced Coué, Coue. And he was a French, I want to say he was a pharmacist or some sort of medical professional at first, right? But he became somewhat of a phenomenon because he was talking to people and healing people through the power of autosuggestion. And this was in the early 20th century. And then he wrote a couple of books on the subject. He wrote 2 books, and then other people wrote books that had observed them. But basically the whole premise was the same, was that you could basically auto-suggest your way out of anything, right? And so what he explained in the book is that our minds will sometimes reject suggestions that don't line up with how we're currently living. So let's say that you have a negative balance in your bank account, right? And then you start affirming that I am a millionaire. Well, your mind is immediately going to say, no, you're not. Like, you're not a millionaire. You don't even have enough money to make your account positive, right? So your mind's going to kick that out. Okay. So day one of doing affirmations, your mind's going to kick that out. And, the more that you look at that balance and then you try to affirm your way out of it, it's very difficult. Okay. Because again, your mind, your conscious mind, I should say, is kind of a gatekeeper, right? So it's going to kick out anything that doesn't belong. All right. And you being a millionaire doesn't belong according to the conscious mind. So what Coué was talking about, he was saying, well, when you do auto-suggestion, say that things are getting better. So instead of saying, he dealt mainly with people who had, physical ailments. His whole thing was, instead of saying my leg is healed or my back is better, say it's getting better, it's improving, right? And the mind, because it can't 100% kick that out, will accept it, right? And his whole thing was to say it continually, day after day, right? So, the core message, the core statement that Kui had was, every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Every day and every way I'm getting better and better. It was a general suggestion, and that covered everything. So you start saying it, and then all of a sudden, what he observed was that the mind would then tell the body that, hey, this thing is getting better, and the body would essentially heal itself. Now, a lot of doctors will tell you that the body is the one that does the healing. All the doctor does is facilitate that process. Most doctors will tell you that, right? Excuse me. Because, there's times when people get healed and we can't explain why they got healed. Like, people have healed themselves of, all kinds of life-threatening ailments, right? But my point is that when you talk to yourself, right, in the form of affirmations, what you want to do is that you want to, instead of saying, I make $25,000 a month in my business, right? Even though that's a good thing, it's a good thing to say that. Your mind may not line up with that, especially if you're not making that kind of money yet, right? Especially if you haven't made $1 yet, right? A better affirmation, if you're starting out, would be, my business income is increasing continuously, right? So you may be starting out at $10, $20, $30 a month, or $100 a month, or even $500 a month. You might be starting small, but when you say an affirmation like that, it's more likely to be accepted by the conscious mind and then pushed down into the subconscious mind. Now, when your subconscious mind begins working on that affirmation, some ideas and then some opportunities are going to open up, because that's just how the subconscious mind works. Subconscious mind is our connection to God, I believe, right? So when you start talking in that way, and the subconscious mind accepts it, then the subconscious mind begins to go out and find opportunities, right? So, you say, okay, my business income is increasing this month. My business income is increasing this month, right? My leg is feeling better. My leg is getting better, right? When you start saying things like that, it's a lot easier for the mind to wrap its arms around it. So a lot of times when people say, man, these affirmations aren't really working, start doing them a little bit differently. Let's say if you haven't had a date in forever, right? And it's been really tough for you to meet new people. Say, I'm becoming more and more comfortable around people, or, I'm becoming more open to the idea of dating someone. I'm becoming more open. It's like you kind of play around with it a little bit, but these are very like non-resistant statements. And this is something that I talk about in the blueprint, the power of non-resistant thinking. So when farmers plant seeds, right? When they plant crops, they have to oftentimes neutralize the soil, because the soil is too acidic to allow growth. And in a lot of ways, that's people, right? A lot of ways, people have too much negative thinking or negative expectation to allow the growth of their goal. If you're someone that has a hard time believing that good things can happen to you, it can be very difficult for you to accept the idea that God is for you and that good things are supposed to happen to you. You're supposed to have nice things. You're supposed to have a good life. You're supposed to have, plenty of money, a partner that loves you for you, a family, that loves you when you love them, and, everything that you want in life, a healthy body. You're supposed to have that. You're supposed to have it, And so when you have a negative mindset, it can be very difficult to accept that idea. So this is a way to kind of, start neutralizing the soil of your mind with these non-resistant statements, right? You can't really disprove that your leg is getting better. Even if it's getting 1% better, it's getting better, right? So let's say that, you had let's say you had a leg issue, right? And, on day 0, like when it happened, like you couldn't even stand up on it. And then the next day, you do your affirmation, my leg is getting better. My leg is getting better, right? Not only are you able to stand on it, you're able to walk. Now, did it get better? Yeah. Is it 100% there? No. Right? But it's getting better. So the mind can't really disprove it. So the conscious mind says, all right, you can go. And then that thought goes down to the subconscious mind. And then the subconscious mind, which is the powerhouse, our mental powerhouse, really goes to work to make that leg better. And then you start taking quantum leaps and, you're running in a week, right? You went from not being able to stand on it to now you're running. Excuse me. That's the power of our minds. So really begin to wrap your head around non-resistant thinking. And when I say this, I say neutralize your mind, neutralize what is going, what your mind is thinking, right? So if you're someone who has had a hard time, making money or keeping money or anything of that nature, start saying things like, my income is improving, my net worth is increasing. Even if it increases by 2 cents, it increased, right? Even if, your net worth went up $2 and went up $2. Okay. So, start wrapping your head around, my client base is increasing. Okay. You may be going from 1 to 2 clients, but it's increasing, right? And as you get comfortable with this, and as the idea of increasing clients or increasing wisdom or increasing health becomes natural, then you can start stacking those big goals. Now you can start going after the big stuff because your base is solid, right? And the soil has become more neutralized that it can accept a bigger goal. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So thank you so much for listening to the Under Construction podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, like, comment, share, and I'll talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the Under Construction podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. For more information on Guided Expressions courses and products, go to guidedexpressions.com/products.